Mr. Gaiman, I have a tummy ache, and I'm being so brave about it. I'm proud of you. You don't have to be sexually attracted to someone to be nice. Cause let's be real here, it's okay to not be attracted to fat people, or skinny people, or anything in between. What gets your motor running really isn't something you have complete control over. What you do have complete control over is how you treat people you don't find attractive. You always have the option to not be an ass. Not finding someone attractive because of their weight, or lack of it, is having a type. Treating someone badly because of their weight, or lack of it, is shallow and hurtful. You don't have to be sexually attracted to someone to be nice to them. You don't have to be sexually attracted to someone to be nice to them. Louder! One more time for the people in the back. My pregnant neighbor knocked on my door tonight, holding an empty plate, too shy to look at me. It was around 7 p.m. when I heard the knock. I opened the door and there she was. My next door neighbor, 7 or 8 months pregnant, clutching this little plate in her hand. In the shyest voice, she asked if she could have some of whatever I was cooking, because she loved the smell. You know how pregnant women get those cravings they just can't fight. She kept apologizing. We don't even really know each other, so she felt embarrassed asking, but I just laughed and told her it was totally okay. I was making a traditional dish from my country. Olive oil, garlic, jalapenos, all kinds of spices. I guess the smell drifted right over to her place, so I filled her plate with my dinner and handed it over. Then I watched her waddle back home like a happy little penguin returning from a successful hunt. And for some reason, that small moment made me really happy too. Sometimes the smallest kindness is the one that stays with you. New wacky romance manga. A teenage boy gets locked in a bomb shelter with his crush after a false alarm for a nuclear war. The boy later finds out about the alarm being false, but he tells the girl the world ended because she said she'll only ever date him if he was the last man on Earth. New disturbing psychological horror manga. A teenage girl gets locked up in a bomb shelter with one of her classmates after the world ends in a nuclear war. Despite her reservations, the two start to get closer, but there's something off about the whole situation, and her classmate is definitely hiding something. Hashtag, this is such a concise illustration of narrative framing. Thanks, OP. Item: handful of tiny soda cans, each containing a few drops of pure flavor syrup. If added to a glass of water, the syrup turns into that soda. Imported straight from Minnesota. My bedroom constantly smells like farts that aren't mine, but I live alone. Congrats to this Reddit user for having the funniest title of a horror story ever. Spoiler, but the twist was literally that it was a creepy dude who was sleeping under her bed and constantly ripping it. So I found out my friends and I are all on our local news website. We were asked all these questions about how long the costumes took us, how well we did it, etc. I paused the video right when we were asked how much money we spent on our cosplays, and does that give you your answer? The distortion of there is potential profit we did not earn as there is money we lost is fascinating and disgusting to me. Mega media conglomerate lost $1 billion to piracy this year is a flat out lie. It is not true. They did not have $1 billion. That they now do not have. They felt entitled to $1 billion. That they did not have and still do not have. It's an infuriating perversion of the truth. Can't believe I lost $1,000 when I told some guy at Walmart to give it to me and he said no. This machine allows anyone to work for minimum wage for as long as they like. Turning the crank on the side releases 1 penny every 4.97 seconds for a total of $7.25 per hour. This corresponds to minimum wage for a person in New York. This piece is brilliant on multiple levels, particularly as social commentary. Without a doubt, most people who started operating the machine for fun would quickly grow disheartened and stop when realizing just how little they're earning by turning this mindless crank. A person would then conceivably realize that this is what nearly 2 million people in the United States do every day, at much harder jobs than turning a crank. This turns the piece into a simple yet effective argument for raising the minimum wage. God damn, what a brilliant way to display this. As soon as 1 month ends, another begins. No break. They are relentless. I felt this on a spiritual level. Smash Mouth was right. The years start coming and they don't stop coming. God, it's like being fed to the rules and hitting the ground running. Fun statistics for adults. When I was a kid, I had no help with college tuition. I was hardworking and paid it all myself. Annual tuition for Yale, 1970, $2,550. Annual tuition for Yale 2026, $45,800. Minimum wage in 1970, $1.45. Minimum wage in 2026, $7.25. Daily hours at minimum wage needed to pay for full tuition in 1970, 4.8. Daily hours at minimum wage needed to pay for tuition in 2026, 17.3. At this point, I wish advertising in general was just literally illegal. Word of mouth only. Maybe exceptions beneath a certain net value, like if you're a startup or a family-run business, but if you're already making $1 billion, then making even one single commercial or banner campaign should be a crime. And I mean a crime like the CEO gets investigated on national television and goes to prison forever, and everyone agrees they're a sick, up maniac. I just learned the F word. It is a legend. Dear Diary, writing prompt. At the age of 13, every person is given an item enchanted to fit their personality. These items can range from a simple tool, such as a wrench or screwdriver, to weapons, such as a longsword or bow, or even jewelry, or an article of clothing. Now, it's your turn. What do you receive? Notes. Sorry this chapter is late. I got salmonella from kissing a frog that I found in my friend's pool. I wish I could make this up. I love fanfic writers. Never change. This is a similar, yet also opposite vibe to the fanfic writer who apologized for being late because she was getting married. Coworker, nice day out, huh? Me, who watched a 2-hour documentary about the Hindenburg disaster the night before and is desperately trying to share the information I learned. Yeah, a real nice day. Not at all like May 6, 1937 in Germany. Certified iconic pose. My sister has apparently had to stop playing Skyrim because she stole every book in the game to stock her house, so now her house is full of books to the point where it almost breaks the game, and every time she tries to read one, guards teleport into her home and arrest her. Ray Bradbury, Fahrenheit 451, 1953. Wikipedia vandalism is actually insane if it happens perfectly. At one point, my brother edited a fictionalized version of himself into our town's history, just a random side character, and then some local historical societies lifted it without citing the source as Wikipedia, and then Wikipedia cited them, so now it's true. This all goes to say, cite your sources, because if one link in the chain doesn't cite, it can become an Ouroboros. No, don't recreate Puritanianism under the guise of progressivism, because you don't have critical thinking skills, like for real, stop! Hashtag, I fear we may have girl bossed a bit too close to the Hays Code. What is the simplest thing you've ever had to explain to a fully competent adult? That you cannot fax money to someone. Had someone accidentally fax us some paperwork, they then asked if we would fax it back due to the paperwork being confidential. I've received a fax in an envelope. Like, they took the documents, put them in an envelope, then faxed me a picture of the sealed envelope. When I was a kid, I faxed my dad satellite office drawings of horses. I had watched my father send so many faxes that I had the process memorized. Except for some reason I thought that I could fax things to grandma. I put in the numbers for the office every time, but was convinced that the faxes were going to grandma. I also didn't think to inform my parents that I was doing this. My dad visited the satellite office, 3-hour drive, one day and discovered their conference room whiteboard absolutely covered in my drawings. The guys thought it was adorable that I sent drawings and letters to him, and didn't tell my dad because they knew he'd stop me. That's one of the cutest things I've ever heard. I like that this just turned into stories about faxing. Concept. Soundproof rooms where you go to scream. $5 an hour, they pay you. Monsters Inc. honestly could have just paid college kids to do this instead of exploiting the labor of young children. The real monster is the lack of ethical business practices. There's probably some monster equivalent of a climate scientist that's been pushing for ethically sourced scream from secretly monster-run amusement parks, haunted houses, and spooky holiday festivals for decades, only to be constantly rebuffed and painted as an alarmist nut. The scientists politely remind Monster World that ethical scream's ready to go whenever.